Live for Speed has just been updated to version 0.6 F5 from version 0.6 F4, and this new version further improves the Oculus Rift DK2 integration. As you can see on the video here, on the screen for you, you can be able to see some fringing and chromatic aberration, the sort of red, green and blue separation on the edges of things, especially notable on the side of the track there, if you look at the actual track map. Now, what that means is, for me, when it goes through the screen, when it goes through the DK2 and comes out the lens, that looks crisp and white and perfect for me, but on the video, because you're seeing what is going on in the DK2 screen, it looks like there's a load of chromatic aberration. So if you see a lot of DK2 videos where there appears to be chromatic aberration, that's actually because the game is outputting in a way for it to look better for the user with the Oculus Rift DK2. Now, amongst the improvements, the chromatic aberration, they've also increased the performance of the head tracking, so things are a lot smoother, and the sense of presence and belonging inside the virtual environment is further improved. Now, once you get a DK2, you'll notice immediately the difference between having a game run at 75 frames per second exactly with no stutter or anything, or a game that has a tiny bit of stutter. It's immediately jarring. On a normal screen, you can have a little bit of slow down, you can drop frames, and it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. But with a virtual reality headset, as soon as you lose anything, as soon as it stutters at all, as soon as you drop below the frame rate of the screen, it's an absolute disaster. It can give you headaches and completely removes you from the believability of it being a real virtual world. Nonetheless, could talk forever, but I'm going to jump on in and drive this car around the track. I've joined a online server. It's just with the demo content, but I'll talk about the actual quality changes, how it actually looks from my position. Immediately putting the headset on, things look a lot clearer. The chromatic aberration is makes a huge difference. Before, on the dials on the car and the track was basically what you could see on the screen. Now it's pretty much crystal clear. Oh dear, car accident. The sense of presence is absolutely phenomenal. Like, you really do feel like you're sat in a real car. The scale of everything is completely spot on. The believability of the world is absolutely phenomenal. And really, the surprising thing is, Live for Speed is probably, if not the best virtual reality demo / game for the DK2 at this point in time. I've gone through about 15 to 20 experiences with the DK2, and in terms of making you feel like you're in virtual reality or in another world and it being a real world, Live for Speed does that spot on. Now, I think that's partly a combination that you're sat down in I'm sat down in my chair, in an office chair, and then obviously I'm sat down in the car, so that helps. But also just being sat in a vehicle, the close-up details with the DK2 are a lot more clear than further away, and because you're in a cockpit of a vehicle, you have a lot of high-detailed objects around you that look very believable and act as a sort of reference to place you in the world. It is absolutely incredible. I mean, this car really does feel... It really does feel like I'm sat in a car. I know, I keep saying it, and it probably seems really stupid from the video, but you really have to try it. And when the CV1 comes out, the more I try this, and the more that these games better integrate the support of the DK2 and sort of capitalise on its features, the more I'm convinced that people are just not going to bother with 3 screens. They're just gonna want the immersion, the sheer immersion in the 3D and the head tracking. It is so good that you're going to probably ditch your 3 screens, even if the resolution isn't quite there yet. But mind you, if the CV1 is 1440p, then I think that'll probably be a good enough resolution for it to be absolutely fine. So if you were looking at buying a 3-screen setup within the next year, I really would just hold off, try a DK2, and then you'll probably think, oh, I'll just get the CV1. I won't bother with I won't bother with 3 screens because this is cheaper, more practical, and you get to experience virtual reality in an absolutely incredible way, and you really do feel like you're in a car. I can't wait to try this properly with the Project Cars. I've tried it a little bit in that. It's not completely working. The tracking's not fully implemented, and to try in Project Cars and Assetto Corsa with the higher quality graphics and more detailed car models, that's going to be an event in and of itself. But as it is right now, Live for Speed's incredible with it. I mean, just moving around, like looking at the dashboard. I mean, it's totally pointless. Why would you want to do it? It's pointless in functionality, but it adds to you being sat in a car and making it feel like a real car. I could put my mobile phone on the dashboard and I could check my sat nav, as you do. But the detail that artists put into these simulators that you miss normally on a normal screen, the moment you put a virtual reality headset on, you can admire everything. And I have to say, this latest patch does make it slightly more comfortable over the previous one. The previous patch they did was absolutely fantastic as well. So you really have to hand it to the LFS developers for being so on the ball and implementing things so well. Do a little bit of a drift around this corner. I say drift, that was an understeer. I just feel like you could put something on that chair. It's absolutely unbelievable. You're probably getting bored of Live for Speed videos. I have to hope that Assetto Corsa and Project Cars do the DK2 implementation soon, so we can have other sim videos. I mean, just looking around, like, because you're in a vehicle in a driving simulator as well, and then you're in an environment and looking at an external environment. I think that adds an extra level of trickery to making you think the outside world is more believable than it is. I mean, look at that. I've driven this track. I mean, I'm driving it in reverse now, but I've driven BLGP. I must have done 700 laps, 1,000 laps. But this just completely... it just brings it out in a completely new light. I mean, it's so unbelievable. I know it's quite comfortable to... obviously, I'm in a slow car. But it's quite comfortable to just look out the window there and admire the details and drive very much as you would a road car. If I'm going at... let's say the speed limit's about... I don't know if it's in kilometres or miles per hour. Let's say I'm on the motorway and going at 70. I mean, that's very similar to being in a real car. I guess it's a little bit more tricky. You don't have a complete periphery. And in a real car, your steering feel is different. Although, actually, for a road car, the G25 is not too far off the steering feel, I guess. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's actually try and do a little bit of a slide around this. That's a bit better. I just always forget how controllable the cars in Live for Speed are. I'm used to driving simulators where the car just loses control, but in Live for Speed everything's so progressive, especially with these road cars. You really can just throw it into a corner and then let the car sort of drive itself as a real car would. This part of the track looks incredible in 3D. I mean, that wall looks really ominous. The foreboding wall of BLGP, and the wind turbines look fantastic. Just the 3D with the DK2. I'm not on the racing line because I'm just doing a little tour guide. But the 3D is another thing with the Oculus. Oh, hello. Sorry. definitely killed that car there. The 3D is so good. If you've used 3D TVs and screens, they oh hello. Let's try that again. 3D TVs and cinema screens with glasses and stuff, they all have ghosting and artifacts, whereas this is absolutely, you know, there's no ghosting. There's a little bit of motion blur depending on if you put the low persistence mode on or not, but the quality of the 3D is just spot on. It's just natural. It's how the real world looks in 3D basically. It's not fake 3D. In many ways you actually start to forget that it is 3D, and it just looks normal. It just looks like the real world looks. And I'm wondering in the future, like thinking back, after you've been driving with the Oculus Rift or doing VR games, there is a little bit of confusion in terms of when you remember the experience you had, in terms of thinking of it as a game or thinking of it as if it was a real thing. I think your brain, when playing VR games, is a little bit confused as to what's real and what isn't. Like you know you are playing a game, but it's definitely fooling certain parts of your brain. Not the whole thing yet, but little bits of it. Let's actually give this one some welly around here. I mean, you can literally just chuck this car in and it goes with it. It's totally happy. so progressive and smooth. Unbelievable. But that's basically the new patch. All I can really say, I mean, those of you that have a DK2 can't really experience it, unfortunately, but improves the head tracking, the chromatic aberration's better, a lot smoother, some more options in the menu for the I can't remember what it's called, but it reduces motion blur. Absolutely awesome. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully, as I say, it'll be new driving simulators supporting the DK2 soon, and I'll upload them as soon as I'll do a video about them as soon as they are available. Subscribe and like, and you definitely want to get one of these or the CV1. I'm telling you, drop your screens out your window. Virtual reality is here.